Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Babcock, and welcome to week 3 of BI6625 on the historical books. This week we're looking at historiography and biblical inerrancy, trying to understand from a church doctrine perspective, what does inerrancy mean? And we have 3 goals: to express how key historical, archaeological, geographical, structural, and cultural background issues affect the historiography of the historical books. 2, to articulate a position on the historicity of biblical historiography. 3, to explain any affirming biblical historicity, to explain why affirming biblical historicity is important for church teaching and ministry. This week gets to be tough because we want to engage with outside scholarship, but we don't want to really bend to outside pressures. And so as a master's level student, we need to not just read about our own preaching to the choir ideas, but we need to engage with outside sources that conflict with our own understanding and then argue against them. And that's what this week is really about. We have 2 assignments, both of which are going to take some time. We do not have a discussion post again this week. So for assignment 3.1, it's actually 2 parts or 2 different assignments all rolled into one. It's a We Believe assignment, and it's to articulate what you believe about biblical history in conversation with the alternative beliefs available today. In other words, I would imagine most in this class have a very high level of the historicity. In other words, that the accuracy of the history of the historical books. And yet there are many scholars like Deaver who have a very low expectation of historicity in the historical books. He would argue that the historical books are really political documents that were brought together in order to support the Davidic monarchy. So this assignment has 2 parts. In part 1, drawing from the readings this week, key there, read this week's readings, outline them, and drawing from that and your own research, in other words, I'm looking for outside research as well, write around a 100-word doctrinal statement that concisely summarizes what you believe and do not believe about the historicity of biblical historiography. In other words, what level of historicity, how true are the actual facts contained in the historical books? And so you need to draw upon the reading, do your own outside research, might want to even look into some biblical passages, and in a very concise way, in a short assignment, write a doctrinal statement that you could post at your church on what you believe about the historicity of the historical books. Address some of the major objections covered in this week's reading. So as you read, you're going to find that he's arguing some of these points, and you're going to want to argue some of the same points that others make against a high level of historicity. Now for part 2, then I want you to write a 2 to 3 page paper to provide support for your claims and explain their importance on the life of the church. So the first is really kind of an executive summary that you would post with your church. We believe ... I believe ... Then I'm wanting you to write a full essay supporting that belief statement using solid academic research, solid biblical support, and personal reflection to explain the importance of this to the life of the church. Include citations from class readings and at least 2 other academic published resources. Logos has many of those. You can find others online, and in a second I'll give you some ideas. So in assignment 3.2, second assignment this week, answering critical scholarship. find a published book, monograph is a single book by one author on one subject, or essay that takes a critical view of the historicity of the historical books. If you are having trouble finding a resource, you may use any of the articles or authors referred to and critiqued in this week's reading. So one of the ways that I find sources, if I have an assigned reading assignment like you do, look at the footnotes. Who is the author talking about, and then go find that source out of the footnote and read it. So if he talks about Bill Deaver in an article or in a book, then go to Logos or go online and get a copy of that, and then use that in your own research. Other options is you can go to ATTLA, which is the library resource, American Theological Library, the database, and you must log in using your Moody account. But when you do, here are some subjects to try when searching. Old Testament history and dating, Old Testament historiography, Old Testament criticism literary, Old Testament study and teaching methodology. If you write these keywords down, and even if you do it in Google, by the way, you're going to find several articles. Now, if you do it in Google, make sure that you're looking at articles from reputable sources and not just websites that sound biblical. I will critique those as non-academic and count off on your papers. So go to ATTLA or another search database, look these up, but make sure that you're looking for an article or a book that was published in an academic way. So then in a 2 to 3 page paper, respond to this published literature by assessing its claims about the history or historicity of biblical historiography. How true are the facts inside the historical books, and presuppositions about the nature of Scripture. So a lot of deep research. I would get an early start this week on the reading. For that second assignment, you may have 100 pages to read out of a conflicting source that you may or may not agree with. So start early while your stress level is low and you have time. Other things to look at, be sure to use the citations. If you haven't watched the Turabian video, I would encourage you to do so, so that you can make sure that your citations are in the correct format. Include outside research. Engage with biblical passages, because I look for each of those things as I'm grading. And as always, email me or call me with any questions. Thanks for all the hard work this semester. I think we're off to a really good start, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Have a great day.